Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Legislative Advocacy 101 with Delegate Jackie Glass. Delegate Glass is a certified doer of Chicago land. She is a proactive leader with deep roots in the Chicagoland area. She has served 11 years in the Navy as a cryptologist. I was like, what? Supporting operations, enduring freedom, and Operation Iraqi freedom. Okay, Delegate Glass. I was like,
do we have to do all this? Do we have to do all this? We don't have to do all this.
You know, I always got to hype you up because you have really done a lot. And what people don't know, what the real bio that I want to say is her shoe game is always fire. And so if you follow her on social media and you watch her stories about get dressed with her, and she's so relatable to people. And I think as delegates and politicians, if they would just be more relatable to their community and show up as they are, I think people would be more likely to listen. And so that's what we appreciate about you, is that those are the things that you do, and you make sure that you're in the community so you know exactly what's going on, even if it's not an election year. And so we pride ourselves in always making sure that we highlight the people that we know truly do the work. So welcome, Delegate Glass.
Gratitude. I appreciate you for having me. I'm like super grateful. You all know, like I don't know if you remember this. It's like when Birth and Color first came around a couple years ago, I was like, I'm gonna do the midwife training. And then I got elected and it was so weird. I wasn't even running for office and I was like, I can't do the training. But I'm just like, my heart is with all of you all that decide, no matter how you interface, that you choose to do it. I said, I took my, like filling my lip, I took my grill out. I'm going to be appropriate this morning. I'm lying. The grill is always appropriate. If you put on a necklace.
I was just about to say, like, you could have left that in.
I was like, oh, that's what it is. It's just jewelry, y'all. It's just jewelry. But super grateful to be here because I think what you're doing is unarguably one of the most important things we can do is understand a process as before we enter into it. To be the best advocates, we have pillars in my office where our goal is always to educate, advocate, celebrate, legislate in that order. Meaning, if we don't do these first three things really well, we don't legislate. Like our education helps us be better advocates, and then we have to realize we got to take some small wins and we got to celebrate them like nobody's business, so that we can get to better legislation. So thank you all for taking the time to be here, and I'm going to try to make the most out of your time because you are gifting me with your time. Am I okay to roll in, Kenda?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So what I wanted to do, and I see there's 27, so that's 25 people minus myself and Kenda on the call. In the chat, if you can just do this for me, because what I'm bringing to you is this thing that I do every summer. It's called Summer School for Certified Doers. And I take this four courses, actually 3 courses in one presentation. So these 3 courses, each an hour, and I break them down, break down the whole process from the 101 to how to lobby to how to build legislation, okay? So I want you all, just so that I make sure that we're getting the most out of our time, because I can pull from each one as we go along, or I can stick in one area and then we can do this again. We can do this every weekend, yeah. Then Puffy said that we shouldn't be talking about him right now. I'm just saying, problematic. But we can do a 101, just understanding the process. Like, how does a bill go from an idea into the legislative process? We can do that 101. We can do how to lobby, because that's a thing. Like, how do we lobby is not a bad word. I promise you. It's like your kids, if you got kids, they lobby you all the daggum time. We can talk about how to actually lobby, what that means, what it looks like, and how to be better at lobbying. Or we can talk about how you actually build your own piece of legislation. So we got 3 options. It's 101, lobby, and build. I would love for y'all to put in the chat, like, what is singing to you? We're going to go with the majority. And I'm probably going to add stuff from each one of them into the other, no matter what. But if you can, put it in the chat. And this is my way of making sure you're there too. Y'all hear? So building, lobbying, or the one-on-one. Seeing building, lobby. One-on-one is essential too. I'm seeing a lot of lobbying. Lobbying. Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna go through lobbying, but I'm gonna start at the building process. I'm not gonna use the slides for it because then I'll get so deep into it and then I'll be like, you said you was gonna talk about lobbying, and I'd be all into it. So let me pull myself together. And then also, while I'm waiting, can you put in the chat where y'all at? Where y'all tapping in from? I'm tapping in from Norfolk, Virginia. So I'll say that I'm tapping in from Norfolk, Virginia. Where are you calling it? Look, I feel like a DJ host. I love it. Canva. A lot of Richmond.
We got a Baltimore in the house.
Okay, Baltimore. Projects, summer school. So we having an early summer school for certified doers. Early summer school. Right, let me pull this up. We're gonna be good. Second. Thank y'all for your patience as you tell me where you from. And let me just say this: I'm a come here, not a from here. Obviously, she said I'm from the Chicagoland area, but I got here as soon as I can for as soon as I could. As soon as I could. So let's start with the cycle. Let's just go with a little bit of one-on-one just to give just give a breakdown. And I'm gonna, if you can, I think you're the host. Either hi, let me make sure I can share screen. Okay, yeah. So if you can give me permission to share, I'll share, but I'll roll through this a little bit so I can share some of the stuff I have. All right, so basic one-on-one. Y'all know that we have what is called we have people in the process. So you got especially the legislative process. We're gonna talk about lobbying. And this even applies to, I'd like to say, to your your local space. If we're gonna do, I think we said we're doing lobbying, but this is not just a thing you do at the state level. It happens at the local level. It happens at the federal level too, as well. But in the Commonwealth of Virginia, at the state level, we've got the House of Delegates, we got the Senate, and we got the executive branch. There are equal signs there. Like, I don't work for nobody's governor. I ain't never worked for nobody's governor. And even though I'm in the I don't work for the governor. The Senate and the House, we're co-equal branches, and we work with or against whoever's at that executive level to get business done, right? When we start having these, like, we're talking about building bills, building ideas, building programs, because I'm gonna tell y'all this too, we talk a lot about bills, like about legislation, but another part of the legislative process is the money, the budget. And that's where we want to get birth and color in the budget, right? Like these, understanding the money side is equally as important as that law building side, because you can lobby for money without legislation. So where we get these things from, it comes from leaders, legislators, our little citizens are part of the process, and even links to the community like you all. Understanding that the only people that can present or bring forth legislation, only people. I'm gonna ask y'all to drop it in the chat. Who can actually introduce legislation? Who is allowed to do that? If you think you got the answer, drop it in the chat. And these groups of
people introduce legislation.
Go ahead. What'd you say, Leslie?
I was asking, can you hear me? And I was asking Alexa.
Oh, girl, come on, use your resources.
I'm using my resources. I'm using.
That's right. I love it. And I also love the way you, please do not hesitate to show your face. I don't care. You ain't got to be cute this morning. Or you can come off mute and just talk to me here. Like, really, like should be interactive. This is us doing this thing together. So the people that introduce, and I see we still getting comments in the chat. I'm gonna tell you if you was right or wrong, and I don't got a prize for you, but I'll give you a round of applause. The only folks that can introduce legislation are the people that are called either a sponsor or a patron. So they are either sponsoring a bill or they're the patron, the person that's holding on to it. And I see a lot of people saying, Diana, it's okay, we got you. Civics ain't got to be your best, but you know how to run your mouth. You know how to get what you need. So we don't even worry. We're not going to worry about civics being the best. We're going to learn. We're going to know better and do better. So legislators, the governor cannot. So y'all who said legislators or senators or delegates, the governor cannot introduce legislation, period. He still got to find somebody in the legislative branch. He or she, excuse me, still has to find somebody in the legislative branch to do his or her business. The president cannot bring forth legislation. They still got to find a congresswoman and congressman or senator to do their business for them. So in the Commonwealth of Virginia, I do not take this lightly. And I know this is why I say, if you've ever thought about running, I want you to do it. Just because we need different kinds of people in this work. I'm just saying it out loud. I've been in the room. That only 0.002 Virginians are people that can bring forth legislation. We've got 8.6 million people in the Commonwealth of Virginia. 140 of them are legislators. There is a very small group of people that are able to do this work. Part of it is privilege of time. Part of it is privilege of being able to take that pay cut or whatever that looks like. But it is a small group of people. And I can tell you, I'm speaking for myself, I don't know how to speak legalese. I don't know how to do all of that. And this is managing your expectations for the lobbying process, right? I rely heavily on my own fortitude of like looking stuff up and doing that work. But also we have a staff group of people called the Division of Legislative Services. And I want you to say that back in your head, Division of Legislative Services, called DLS. That's lawyers that they don't do nothing but work for you and work for me to make sure that the ideas that we have turn into things that you could actually lobby for and say, hey, like, here's the idea, here's what it looks like being in the Code of Virginia or the Code of Maryland or wherever you are, right? Like, here's what it looks like being there. We don't have all the answers. We don't know, we don't do all of the things. One space that we use very heavily, and I'm going to drop it in the chat, this is the 101 piece, I'm going to drop it in the chat, is LIS. And I want you to again say to yourself, LIS, LIS, LIS. It is called Legislative Information System, .virginia.gov. We use that site. Like that site, you can look up legislation that we done brought from I think it goes back to 1994 all the way until present. Right? Anybody that's brought or what's happening now, that is important because contextually, when we get to the part of talking about lobbying, sometimes you're going to need to do that back history of like, has this been brought forth before? And then if it was, who did it? Who brought it forth? What does it look like? Makes sense? So I need you to put that in if you listening from your phone, say LIS, LIS, LIS in your head. If you got pen and paper, write lis.virginia.gov down. That is going to be a huge resource to you. Also on there, they have what a thing is called Lobbyists in a Box. I'm going to say this again, Lobbyists in a Box. It's a whole program that'll teach you how to use the system, how to be able to look up things. And if you want to get alerts or updates on maybe bill language that has a certain thing, and it could be milk. Like anytime there's a bill that says something that comes out new that's about milk, I want to get an alert saying that is there. Am I good? Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I just got the stable, unstable. So that's like the 101, right?
You're frozen.
Now you are frozen, Delegate Glass.
I just reached out to her, so give her a second. She's coming back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's me. I told y'all, Cox, we be having to call him. Don't get y'all life together. I just connected to my phone, so hopefully we won't have no more of those problems. But my apologies. So I think the last thing you probably heard was me saying LIS, right? Putting that in your head. But the life of a bill, know that there's a healthy level of respect for the things that come into law, right? Because for you as a lobbyist, right, when we talk about learning how to lobby, the process that you have to get in on bills, the part that you have to get in is on the subcommittee level. And I need y'all to say this with me, subcommittee. And actually, just because I know everybody want to be quiet, type it in the chat. I don't want nobody to forget this. Type in the chat, subcommittee, 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 subcommittee. I'm saying because what ends up happening is folks that are lobbying or that have advocacy issues oftentimes come to us when the bill is in committee or the bill is on the floor and there ain't a whole lot of changing going on, or it's been already died in subcommittee. Yup, subcommittee, subcommittee, subcommittee. If you can put that in your head at the state level, that is where it starts. The subcommittee level is where these bills start. It is the first time that they're being heard by the public. Sometimes in subcommittee is the only place that you're going to be allowed to do testimony, right? Where you, as the person that is advocating or lobbying for a bill, can show up, speak your piece, and then go on. Because what happens is from subcommittee, it goes to a committee, a full committee. And then that full committee, they're just going up or down, deciding. Most times they only want to hear new testimony because all that stuff is worked out in subcommittee. Y'all got that?
Yes.
Yep. So don't get yourself trapped up where you like, what happened to that bill? And they were like, it died last week. What are we talking about? Because it died in subcommittee. It's not the most fashionable work, but it's where it happens. And even when you're lobbying, we'll talk about this too, is that the first people you want to lobby are the people that sit on the subcommittee. They're the first ones that are going to interact with that piece of legislation, that idea that you have before anybody else. And if I can be really candid with you, because I'm always going to be honest, is that I don't really look at any other legislation unless it's a hot topic item, right? Where I know at some point I'm going to get some questions. I don't look at it unless it's in my subcommittee, because sometimes we have over 1,000 bills that come to the General Assembly. There's no way that I'm going to get my eyes on 1,000 bills, like it just in that little bit of time that we have. So I prioritize, what legislation do I know I'm going to see? Like, do I know I'm going to see? I'm pulling the legislation from my subcommittee. I'm also thinking about, if I had one constituent come to me about a single piece of legislation, then I put that on my radar too, because they asked me to. I'm here working for them too. So don't also talk to the people in your district. But when you got a piece, when you got something, start at that subcommittee later. I'm saying it 1,000 times because I've seen people heartbroken over not being able to be a part of the process because they didn't know when to start barking up the tree. Okay. So debate, public comment, that happens at the subcommittee level, sometimes at the committee level. From there, it goes to a floor vote. Now in the House where I reside, that's where 100 folks are going to vote on whether or not that bill gets to still live and go over to the other chamber. On the Senate side, it has to go through the subcommittee committee process, and then they're going to vote on their 40 together are going to vote and decide whether it comes across to the House side. We then have this thing called crossover. Say it to yourself: crossover, crossover, crossover. Yep, not that thing AI does, but when we switch the bill from a bill goes from the House to the Senate and from the Senate to the House, because both chambers have to agree, because they're called chambers. Both chambers have to agree on a bill before it can even go to the executive side to say, yes, that's something that we agree on, right? So it's got a long life to live, y'all. These ideas don't. It's not like when someone makes it into the law arena, it's been through some stuff. So that same thing process, if you love it, you're gonna have to go over to the Senate side on the subcommittee side and do it all over again. Let me just say this. I don't know what your political affiliation is. It don't even matter to me. But don't assume because we have a Democratic House and a Democratic chamber, or if there was a Republican House or Republican chamber, that means your bill good because it passed one house. It don't work that way. Sometimes the chambers think very differently. Politics are not just party. Sometimes they're chamber-wise, sometimes they're regional, right? So making sure that you go to the other side and see it through on the other side, whether it's switching from House to Senate or Senate to House, is also important at the subcommittee level, because I've had bills that have made it through the House, flying colors, no problems. And then I went over to the Senate and they was like, we want to change some stuff. Like, what are we changing? Why do we need to change it? But that's just, again, that's diversity of thought. And that's why our government works the way it does. You got eyes on all the way around. Now, what'll happen in each of those committees as you're lobbying, you'll know that they'll either say they're going to report that bill, they're going to amend that bill, they're going to refer that bill, or they're going to kill that bill. So when they report it, they say that it's moving on. When they amend it, they say, I like what you got, but we're going to make some changes. You got to be in the room on that, because sometimes you may hear them change it. You'll be like, that don't even make sense. Or that changes everything that we was trying to do. And the voices like yours in the room make a difference. I say this again. I try to, I'll say it for myself, and I'm going to say it, that you should assume it for other legislators too. Assume I know nothing. When you come lobby, assume I know nothing. If you're telling me something for the first time, hallelujah, thank you. If you're telling me for the 50th time, I appreciate you like it was the first time. So making sure that you are doing the next part of what we do, that lobbying aspect, and you're getting at their next about here is why this is very clearly as to why you're saying this needs to happen. Gives them the language to sit up there on the dais. The dais is the big bench that they sit up on, and have the argument as to why that change makes sense, why that doesn't feel like it's a friendly thing, why we need to, okay, does that make sense? That makes sense to y'all? Because I'm gonna pause for a second, because I feel like I'm like, yeah. Okay, no questions, right? The beautiful thing is that we have all those readings, right? Well, I'm gonna pass that. Then it goes over to the governor. Right, so that's the process. That's kind of the one-on-one, y'all. Once it leaves our chamber, it goes over the governor, and the governor can do 4 things. Really, the governor, he or she can sign the bill. They could amend the bill. And remember, I said amend means to change. So amendments, amend is short for amendments. We're making change. He or she can veto the bill, meaning just like, nah, it's not happening. Or they could do nothing. If the governor does nothing on a piece of legislation, it just automatically rolls into law on July 1st. Because that's how our calendar year works. But that's pretty much the 101. Any questions, comments, concerns about just the 101? Yes, that makes sense. Okay, Fabiola said that makes sense. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen. We're going to use the same slides from my summer school, which is fun. Use the same slides from summer school. Hold on. There we go. From summer school, yes, taking notes makes sense. There we go. Let's go back here. So now we're going to shift to the lobbying aspect of there we go. Where are we at? See if it'll let me share. Share screen. Let's see. All right, can y'all see this? I'm just afraid if I try to do the presenter version, it's not gonna be kind to us. All right, so this is the thing I said before, that I typically do this thing called Summer School for Certified Doers, and this is the lobbying portion of it. And there are no bad, wrong questions here, so please feel free to ask away. We've kind of done that portion. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about what is lobbying, the steps to lobbying, and then some very well next steps for you as you go through. I have this thing called I am that we do. It's inform, act, maintain. I am. When we're doing the work, when we talk about building bills, that was in the last course of this, we have to inform. Inform means inform self, right? There's work that you're going to have to continuously be doing on the thing that matters to you to stay abreast and to stay knowledgeable. Inform your community, which is like, all right, I'm talking to the first folks that I know that are involved. So if it's a maternal health issue, then I'm touching base with Birth and Color, right? And making sure that like, hey, I'm seeing this. Then you're going to act. That's when you start bringing your people in. And then maintain means we keep that cycle going. I am. So step one is the proposed legislation. Actually, where is proposed, when we talk about lobbying, is this lobbying? Yes, lobbying, proposed legislation. My question for you all right now, because this is going to be actual work, is there any, do you already have proposed legislation in your mind that you're thinking about that's important to you? And if you can't come off mute or drop it in the chat, what your proposed legislation is that you have, that you're thinking about. Like, you're like, if I got a chance to do this, I would definitely be bringing a bill for it.
Have you looked at New York's recent accomplishment?
No, tell me
are
more.
the first state to have guaranteed maternity leave.
Yeah, I did see that.
So I'm looking to see what we could do with that.
What we could do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. I want to say Renaya, or
yes,
right?
ma'am. You said it correctly. It's Renaya.
Okay,
Good
go
morning.
ahead.
Good morning, everyone. So it's something that I've had on my mind as I continue to dive into this work. It's nothing that I have fleshed out officially, but the significance of doulas in mitigating the birthing outcomes that have happened within America is very, very important to me. And I believe that doulas should be recognized in hospitals as birthing professionals everywhere, because there are some states, especially in the DMV, that have recognized them, but not fully. We've gotten certain things such as Medicaid being recognized in the fact of us being able to use Medicaid, but I would like us to be recognized on a higher level and have us be able to come into the hospital and be seen as birthing professionals and health professionals.
I love it. I love it. What do we got in the chat?
Did that just get passed? Did the bill just get passed at all? I'm sorry, I'm Leslie. So the bill, did it just get passed at, from what I'm hearing, that doulas get paid through all insurances now, but you have to do your steps through community doula, becoming a community doula, and then applying somehow. And that's my concern, is how does, once it's
that's actually that's incorrect.
Okay.
The legislation did get passed, but it's to mandate a study. It is not passed for them to pay for doulas commercially yet. We have to have that bill carry it one more year, and then we'll have a lot of education that will come out that will say exactly what it is and what the requirements and what the logistics part.
Okay, I would like to learn more about that. If you could send me information on that.
Okay, you can email Birth and Color. We will ask for a lot of people to come out to help advocate, and we educate everyone when it comes up to our lobby day, so that everyone is familiar on like what the processes will be and a part of the study.
Okay. All right.
I'll put the email in the chat.
Thank you.
I say, yep, look, this is, and that's what I'm telling you, the success of things is sometimes just making sure you're connecting to the right folks, connecting to the right folks and the right ideas. I see some other things that mandatory maternity leave. Yes. Cheyenne, oh, Cheyenne, a new mama. Congratulations, Cheyenne. Mandatory screening for perinatal mental health during pregnancy and postpartum. Following, okay, help me, because Kendi, you're gonna have to help me. ACOG, what does that stand for, and what is
American College of
okay, got it.
College of Gynecology.
And AAP, yeah.
American something pediatrics.
I say this, y'all. This is I say that's really important because I'm not gonna pretend like I know something that I don't, and you shouldn't either, right? Like we should. This isn't every space that we get like this is an opportunity to learn, to grow from each other. So like, do not. I mean this. Do not be afraid to ask questions. There's nothing silly here because we're all stretching our skill set. The beauty of it is that it's in one space. our power is in one space now. Go ahead. Makita,
can you are you talking or? She might have just logged in. You can put her on mute.
Okay. Okay, so the proposed legislation, keeping that in mind, the important thing is that when you're thinking about lobbying, whether it's something you're bringing or not, understanding, is there already relevant, is there legislation relevant that interests you? If so, you learn more about it, which we're doing right now. Like we're actually, I think I saw it on Instagram about New York, that they were like, I was like, okay, New York, let's go, that they were doing that. The next step of the process is contacting your legislator. And if you already know, I would love it if you could come off mute or drop in the chat, who is your legislator? Who's your person? I know some of you, it's okay to say, I don't know, because I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't even know who my legislator was until I had to pick a fight. I didn't. I was like, I don't know who this person is, but we about to go at it. All right. And I never expect that everybody knows that, hey, Jackie Glass is my representative in the district. So it's a responsibility of ours. But we're going to learn how to fish too today. And then we're going to make sure that we're good doers, ensuring that other folk know who to hold and who their legislators are. Who's your person? I see one in the chat. Who their legislator is? Okay, Fabiola, you giving them that good cheat sheet. I'm scared. Ain't no sense. Ain't no real cheating around here. We educating. LaSharice L, Rip Sullivan, and Jennifer Boysko. Got it. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Karita. It is okay. Rob Whitman is your federal legislator. I'm gonna hold that. I see that, Leslie.
Thank you.
Josh Thomas, Betsy Carr, Lamont Bagney, Jerry. Yes. All right. So these are your people. And thanks to Fabiola in there. You have, I hope I'm saying your name right, Fabiola Benavidez, I think. She put in the chat, Fabiola put in the chat, find your legislator. That's an easy way just to find out who represents you, I'm acing it. I'll be trying. Look, if we can get Gerkowski and Gershowitz right, we can get everybody else's name right. So I'm just putting that as a note. Don't let nobody say your name wrong. They can do it. All these names with 15 letters in the alphabet.
That's right.
That's the least. So
right.
Making sure that you know who your legislator is paramount. Also, just building that relationship. For a bit of empathy, at least something that I learned is we are charged with representing about 84 to 86,000 people at a time, right? And there's absolutely no way that I'm going to meet everyone, that everyone gives a crap about the work that we do. So any opportunity that we get to say, hey, like, I'm your constituent, like you can just, hey, I may not need anything right now. I'm your constituent. I am a huge advocate in this particular area. Please just keep me in mind if you see any legislation or you're doing any work, right? If you haven't already done that, I'm going to encourage you to just do that, right? As homework. Like that's one thing that you can do right now and just be like, hey, I don't need nothing, but look, I could be your guru. Because oftentimes I find it, and I'm looking like, who can I call? I'm thinking about, I'm just gonna say coastal resilience. Like that's not something that it's important to me because it's important to my district. But like, who in my neighborhood, who is there that I know has got a thing or is really educated that I can sit and have a real conversation about next steps. So being able to contact your legislators is super important. Making an appointment, right? Like you've already, I think this was my activity was going to be to have y'all look it up. But here's what we're going to do right now, we're going to do this right now. I want you to, if you're at a computer, I want you to go to the generalassembly.gov, and I'm actually going to go ahead and go to it as well, right? Generalassembly.gov, Virginia General Assembly.gov. And if you're elsewhere, I need you to look up your General Assembly, right? You should come to this page here, right? Get to there, Virginia General Assembly.gov. Also, they said, look, we just made the new who's your legislator, who represents you. So let's say I'm going to go to member session and I'll be like, here I can take a look and see everybody that's in the House, everybody that's in the Senate. I can look at the videos of the old stuff that they done did, so on and so forth. Going to the listings. Let's say you know who your person is, but you like, Jack, you just told me to contact this person. I don't know how to contact them. I don't know how to get a hold of them. I'm just going to use myself. If I can find me, I'm going to go to Glass. Y'all see where right there, how to get a hold of your person right here. And if I click on Jackie Glass, that old picture, y'all know I don't look like that. They need to change that vision. I'll be trying to get them to, they don't listen. Okay. But I have there's an email address there. I want y'all to copy that email address or go ahead and copy that number. And when we get off of here, if you're on the computer now, you can go ahead and start drafting that email. Just put hello, delegate or senator such and such, because you're going to do it. Like you're going to just go ahead and make that first contact. And you can just say, I am learning more about, if you don't have an issue or anything, you know what, I'm just learning more about state politics. Just found out that you're my representative. Hope to be able to see you or get to know you, whatever, one day. They may come back and say, hey, guess what? We got a town hall coming up next week. Love to have you come. They may say, oh, so you've worked with Birth and Color. Oh, that's beautiful. Because I'm going to be real with y'all. Okay. Sometimes there are legislators that don't get to interface a lot with people that don't look like them. And so I've had to tell them when I brought people up here that were of a diverse crew, that these are not my friends. These are constituent, these are business owners, these are people who are representative of the Commonwealth that need your support, not Delegate Glass's friends. And some of them are your constituents. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask you to build that relationship. That's why they're here. So you probing, I need you to do that. Because we need to be seen in the process. And I'm not just talking about how we look. I'm not even just talking about the diversity and look. I'm talking about diversity and what sits in your pocketbook. What diversity and what kind of jobs you hold down. There are folks that just never truly interact with outside of their circles, and let's do them a service. let's do them a service. We want very little excuses as to how we show up for the myriad and the spectrum of people that are representative of the Commonwealth. So can you do that? Can you today, at the very minimum, shoot that email or make that quick phone call? I promise you what's probably going to happen for some of you is you may end up getting on the line the person's chief of staff or legislative aide. That's just as good as talking to that legislator and putting it on their radar. And I can't tell you enough how good it feels when I have people call just to tell me they was just like, let me know that they exist. I'm like, dang it, who got time to do that? And I'm so grateful because it is a privilege of time. It seems like the only people that get to interface are the people that are, not to say well off, but people that are well organized or well, have the privilege of time that you do. Today, you can do that. And I'm telling you, if you draft this email, I'm asking for 10 minutes. If that, because if you like me, I don't type that fast. So it's going to take me a little bit to think about what I got to type and then go ahead and get it sent off. Give me a thumbs up in the chat or thumbs up if you can do that. And if you can't do it today, I'm asking before this holiday weekend happen, because Memorial Day is about to hit you, and then you're gonna be off into Neverland until Tuesday next week. Just go ahead and make it happen. I also want you to use the time to get yourself together. Sound good? Make that appointment. Step 3, in preparing to speak to your legislator. There's several things that I want you to, and I'm trying to find my list of things. Should have had it ready for it, particularly for this talk. When you're preparing, y'all, we first start by researching your legislator. I mean this because if you're going for a particular issue, right? Let's say you are like, look, I want to see where this person, I'm about to talk to them about doula care. What you can do, hold on a second. All right, if you're like me and you have young children, my heart always flutters when the school calls. And nowadays, I had to pick up that school phone call. Gratitude for your patience. So if you're doing legislation on doula care, right? Like actually doing legislation on doula care, and you're like, hey, I want them to know, share, and do more, you can look up your legislator's voting record, right? Do your homework on the person that you're talking to, because they might have voted against something, and you might want to be asking them why, or what they're doing, or why they're doing it. Or they may have supported something and you want to know how they could take it a step further. Or you may have never heard them speak on the issue, and this is your opportunity, to be able to educate. So research your legislator. How you do this? Y'all ready for this? How you do that? Make no assumptions. And I'm saying this again, before you make a call, before you talk to folks, make no assumptions about where they stand on things. A big piece that you can look at for the legislator that you're going to talk to, whether it's yours, is go check out their committees. And I'm going to show you all right now on LIS, right? LIS should come right up for me because I'm always here. When you go to LIS, remember I talked about legislator in the box, being able to track bills. It's free service. You ain't even got to do nothing but sign up. But I'm going to go to General Assembly members, and I'm going to go to myself. And where am I at? There I am. And I'm going to say, I want to know what committees this legislator is on, right? Like what committees, because remember how I said subcommittees are super important too. So I'll go to privileges and elections. And I'm like, okay, she sits on privileges and elections. Is she on any subcommittees? All right, I'm going because I know where I am. Oh, okay, Delegate Glass chairs that subcommittee for privilege and elections, election administration. So I know I can have I know she's gonna see these sorts of things. You may even have to hack it backwards. Maybe you don't need to talk to your legislator, but you want to talk to a specific legislator that you know is going to see the doula bill, right? Like you know that they're going to see a bill on this. So then you can go to standing committees, right? And most times when we're talking about maternal health care, it's going to be in health and human services, unless we're talking about like a tax credit or anything like that, which will be under finance, but health and human services, right? And I can say, all right, let me see who sits on health and human services. This is the big committee right here. So I see Sickles, Tran, Hope, Price, Hayes. Well, I see all. Good morning, Miss Linda. Oh, sorry, Miss Linda, I can hear you. It's okay. It's okay. I know we in the flow this morning. We doing the things. So this is the big committee, right? The big health and human services committee. If I'm trying to figure out, let's say health professions, let's just say doula went under health professions. I would click on health professions, and do you see, I can see who the chair and who the people are. So I'm getting to know who that person is on that committee. This is the subcommittee. So I'm probably going to go try to talk to Delegate Price, Hayes, Tran, Cole, Srinivasan, Hodges, Cherry, Owen and then maybe Sickles about what I'm trying to do, because I know they're going to see my piece of legislation first. So when I say lobbying your legislator, it just depends on whether you need to talk to your person or you've got a specific issue. So knowing the committee process and knowing where committees they stand on, and then understanding what types of legislations that they are processing, they've been what type of legislation they've been sponsoring. And remember earlier I told you about sponsoring. So you're either the sponsor or you're the patron for that particular bill. And I'm going to just click on Delegate Price, and I'm going to say, let's look at the kinds of bills that she's been chief patron. I mean, chief patron means she's the one who brought it. Oh, that's old. This is old. This is old. Yeah. Oh, this is special session. My apologies. I'm going to go. This is a special session. So I'm going to go to other sessions over here, and I'm going to go to the 2024 session, this last session. I'm just going to go to any General Assembly member because it'll be quick there. Let's go to Alex Askew. He's right there. Let's go to the bills that he's carried. So I know that these are all the bills that that legislator carried this past session, about election, about school safety, about voter registration, fisheries. Like, I know what they're carrying. So it gives you an idea of what types of legislation that they are carrying before you go and have that conversation. Sorry, it's just my clicker's doing little weird things. Do we all understand step 1, 2, and 3? Does that all make sense about just getting to know your legislator and then being able to walk in from there? Any questions on that? Comments?
This is being recorded. How can we get access to the recorded session so I can go back and look at some of those notes?
Okay, so Kenda, I'm sure Birth and Color will have that. So I'll make sure before we end, we'll make sure that we ask about where the recorded session is going to be. But make sure. I apologize,
I stepped away.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
So being very clear on, I just went to 2 separate websites that are really good for you to know. LIS, which stands for Legislative Information Systems, .virginia.gov. That's this one. That's going to give you all the good stuff, right?
That's the one I wanted to see. Yes, yes, yes.
This is the good one. This got all the things. It's got all. Good. Let me go to the homepage. But even from LIS, the good thing about LIS is from LIS, you can get to the General Assembly homepage, right? Let me get rid of these guys from lunch. So I can get to the General Assembly homepage from LIS. That one I talked to you guys about, virginiageneralassembly.gov. This is a one-stop shop. And I'm going to, like I said, encourage you to sign up for Lobbyists in the Box. I have my own little login there, but you'll get your login and you'll be able to set up alerts, because I'm just like you. There's stuff that I'm not carrying the bill, but I want to lobby for it. Like, I want to talk to my colleagues like, look, I know you're on this committee. Please, I need you to be with us on this one. There's also work that I have to do too with lobbying. But tapping in and being ready for that phone call. When it comes time to actually meet with your legislator, that's the step 4, right? Preparation is key. Okay. It is 100% key. Do not, as I told you before, never try to pretend like you know something that you don't, and don't assume they know all the things. I would always say be on time if you can, especially if you're trying to meet a legislator while we're up in General Assembly. I assure you, I wish I could spend 15 to 20 to 30 minutes with each person. It just doesn't really work out that way. Most times I've got about a half an hour block between committee meetings and being in session that I have to be able to meet with people. So I'm sometimes doing 3 meetings that are 10 minutes long. Or I may be like, okay, we got 5 minutes to do what we got to do, because I'm also talking to professional lobbyists and citizen lobbyists. Like, we're all trying to work it out while we're up in session. That is why, when I said earlier, just reaching out and touching base, when we're not in session, meaning we're not at the Capitol from that January to that February or March timeframe, depending on the year, that is the most crucial time to start touching base. In the timeline of legislation, y'all, in that whole timeline of legislation, we are at the process where most legislators are just now starting to think about what they're going to take to the 2025 General Assembly session. Some people don't start till August, some people don't start, but this is that season where we're all thinking about it. So it's good to get in when we have the breadth of time, realizing this is a full-time job with part-time pay and full-time problems, right? That sometimes your legislator may be also working another full-time job. So this is your time to sort of be able to maneuver with them. They might have office hours, but a means for you to actually be able to talk to them. So I encourage you to be on time. Make sure that you introduce yourself in all of your fullness, right? If you are, look, when I introduce myself, even though I do this, like I do this live every Thursday morning, I tell my listeners, good morning, or the people that are tuning in, I'm Jackie Glass. I'm a mama. I'm a Navy vet. I'm a certified doer. I'm a laced up legislator for the House of Delegates, 93rd District. So proud to serve, right? I'm saying my titles. If I were coming to lobby, I'd be like, I also am involved with the Preservation Collective as this. I sit as this, right? Being able to give them, because sometimes you might have expertise that you don't even realize that somebody might pick up on and say, did you say that you have worked with octopi? You worked with octopus before? Okay, well, I just had this thing. So give your brief introduction, thank them for your time, be honest. And I say that to legislators too, like we also have to be honest when we don't know stuff, because you all are our gateway into having better conversations in closed rooms. We live in what is called a constitutional democratic republic. I'm gonna say that again. We live in a constitutional democratic republic, not a democracy. Because if it's a democracy, all of us would be up there legislating right now. We have a document called the Constitution that allows us to select, which is democratic, the people that make choices for us. That is a republic, right? So when we look at these people that are making decisions for us, you have every right to be a part of that process and helping educate them to show up better. And if their egos aren't in check, there's enough of us to go around. Let's talk about the conversation piece of things. All right. So I'm going to talk about two aspects of that, because sometimes when you're going to meet or lobby with your legislator, let me come back up here. When you're going to lobby and meet, sometimes you decide to go with a group and sometimes you decide to go by yourself. I'm going to break those into two separate pieces. And especially if you know that you're going with a group, I want y'all to pay really close attention, because sometimes groups get it so wrong. And I'm like so frustrated for them, because our time it's not wasted. I just know that we could have gotten more out of our time if the group had prepared for coming to meet with me in particular. This is just a Jackie thing. I think it's helpful though, no matter who you're meeting with. So we'll do two folds on getting ready for that conversation. So because time often is finite, when I say like there isn't a lot of time, I promise it is no shade that either I'm not in the office and you got to talk to my chief of staff who's going to debrief me, or my district director who's going to debrief me on all the things. It all matters, right? I like to say in the military, we say be on, be brief, be off. You should know exactly what you're there to talk about, right? Already have, before you walk into that room, if there is one piece of information that I need them to walk away with, the legislator to walk away with, that's what you start with, right? Start there. I need you to leave with the fact that House Bill 274 is a bill to do X, Y, and Z. We need you to support it, or there's some language in there that's problematic. Whatever your thing is, don't bury the lead. Teach the test, essentially, right? Have a list of talking points to talk from it. If you're able to just put those points, hand them a page, maybe it's a half sheet, just said, here are my points here, because I don't know if we'll be able to get through everything, because maybe they're running late to the meeting because of they were in a committee, whatever that is. Have those talking points. If you're able to give a one page or a half sheet, then do that. The most important piece that you can do for when you're lobbying, the most important thing you can do when you're lobbying, I kid you not, is use a personal story or the human aspect of it to show the real world impacts of that particular piece of legislation. I can't tell you the number of times where I'm sitting in a room and I just want to make a point and I want to say, well, this is how it needs to be. And then what ends up happening is I can pull for myself, is like, I actually talked to someone constituent, or I actually talked to someone, and let me help you understand this is what happens when we make choices like this. This is what happens when we don't make choices. I have a real live person. And then guess what you do? You show up to the subcommittee hearing and you tell your story, and there's a face with it. It really helps so much. And I'm saying that show up because you can do that via, we have it where you can Zoom in, right? You can do it virtually or you can do it in person. So just giving space to make sure that we are able to see the real impact of the choices that we make on people, or have those in our back pocket, or have understanding is super important. And also yourself, be ready to answer some questions. I am an asking penguin. Okay, I will ask as many, like, just keep asking, because I want clarity and I don't want to misrepresent anything it is that the person in front of me is saying. Or I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to pretend. So that's if you're going by yourself. Got that? In lobbying, if you're going by yourself, that's a piece of it. If you're going with a group, okay, if we're going with a group, already before you walk into that space dealing with that legislator, establish roles, right? Have a person that's like, I'm going to spit the facts. A person that's like, I'm going to share my personal story. One person that's going to follow up and reiterate. And then one person that's going to do that ask. Okay, like I'm going to say this all the time. Do not walk in a meeting without an ask. Know what that ask is. Like, have it in mind that this is what I would like you to do. So just as these political folks, us as politicians, we'd be like, can I have your vote? You need to be able to say, can I count on you supporting this? Be very direct. What oftentimes happens with groups is they come in and then one person monopolizes the whole meeting and then no one else gets to talk. And then it's like, okay, so what is it that you wanted me to do? I heard this person out. So, or they just run out of time, right? Like, make sure that your group, this is so important, but also so impactful when you all get opportunity to show up and say what you need to say. It's super important. Like, to me it is, and I hope for you it is, that you don't feel like you wasted your time or energy coming to the General Assembly or reaching out to your legislator's office and then you didn't even get to say nothing. So any questions about that? Comments? I guess I'm going to ask a question. Has anybody on the call actually ever lobbied personally or with the group? And if you could put in the chat or come off mute or give me a thumbs up or whatever, saying that you've done this before.
I have not.
Okay. Let me see if I've lobbied with Birth and Color. Yes. Okay. All right. So, oh, sorry, Leslie, just for the recorded session is going to be on their YouTube channel for your review. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I saw that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, for all the information being posted. Thank you.
Awesome. So, Renaya, you've lobbied with ACLU. Yes, it could be a lot of fun. And I'm just saying, like, it could actually be a lot of fun. Lobbying is no joke. It could be a whole lot of fun. It could be a terrifying experience. I see people get nervous. It's all right. Like, it's okay. We're human. Guess what I gotta do? Guess how I put my pants on? One leg at a time. just like you. For me, I'm just gonna tell y'all a little hack for me when I gotta talk to people that I'm like gassing myself up in the wrong way in the head. I think about the fact that everybody got feet. Now go look down at your feet and be like, everybody got feet. Well, most people have feet. Let me not say everybody. Some people don't have legs. Let's not be or hands. Like, these things that like humanize us. Like, to me, that's the thing, is that like, y'all got feet and they could be cute or they could be ugly. And I don't know which one it is, but you got them. Even Beyonce got feet. Her feet don't care nothing about her career. Okay. So like, just humanizing people. I see you, Sequoia, laughing. It's true. Everybody got feet. Is helpful. Okay, so I see, Karen, you said that all things maternal health, your current president affiliate of Virginia, affiliate of American College of Nurse and Midwives. Thank you for your service. Sequoia said it's actually fun, but feels more really empowering to get to talk about the things you want to see happen in your state. That's true. Like, and I'll say this as a personal story. again, the second time that I interfaced, the first time I got to know a state legislator, I was ticked off about something and had to write a letter. The second time that I did was because I saw across the Commonwealth that people were, Dove had the campaign for the Crown Act. And my daughter had to be maybe in third grade at the time. And she just was wanting to do weird stuff with her hair. And I remember her growing up and just saying, I want my hair down straight. I want it down soft, and like really disrespecting her curls. And we worked on the Crown Act with Senator Spruill. Like, that's the first time, like, all I did was I nervously emailed the office. No joke. I was like, I bet you, but they already had the things together. So sometimes when you're working with partner organizations, they may already be able to give you the language to interact. So I took the language that Dove and the Crown Act folks have, copied and placed, but the other example. Ashley, is it okay if you mute for us, please? Hey there, Ashley Bullock. I mean to call you out, but we can hear your background noise.
Hey, Delegate Glass, you can actually put her on mute.
There it is. There it is. I just see you gave me some permissions. Thank you for that permission. I appreciate you. But with that, it just took an email, and I kid you not, 3 days later, his office called and said, hey, can you tell us more about this? And I was like, this is the Crown Act. They passed it started in California, blah, blah, blah. And that was during COVID. And I ended up on a call during a bill signing for the Crown Act in Virginia. And I felt like I didn't do no work. All I did was send an email and say how important it was. And the senator took it, and there you have it. Like, and then we got the Crown Act. And I know there was somebody working on the House side too. So it was like a beautiful thing. You just felt like super attainable. So some roles are really hard and long of lobbying, right? Back and forth, because they did come back to me and be like, is this the language? Is this what we're looking for? Some roles are really short and quick. But you literally have the opportunity to be a part of change right in your space and place. And Sequoia, thank you for like flagging that about actually seeing it happen in your space. Okay, moving on. Step 6, the conversation. So I want to pause for a second and give us some time to really think about on the things that are important to us, and I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I want us to take a moment and think about that thing that we wrote down earlier that we said matters so much to us. What is the most important piece, or what would you want to highlight in the conversation about that? Whether it is, I'm looking back to some of the things you all said, whether it's guaranteed maternity leave, or what is the highlight? What would be your main point? What would be your main sticking point? And if some of you can share in the chat, or you can put it, you can come off mute and say, this is the thing, this is why this is so important to me.
I would like to say something, if I may.
Absolutely, Ms. Leslie, and I thank you for your interaction.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So I'm really, really fresh and new to politics. It's never been my jam. I put in the work where I'm at. I've been a doula for close to 20 years now. So that's where my work is, my avocation and advocacy. And so in this work, we started off as really lowballing, not being able to charge. And as we get into this work, the burnout factor is 2 to 5 years. And so what I'd like to say about that is sometimes I see some of the figures that are thrown around in the insurance realm, and it's burnout. It's burnout costs, And so how do we get that changed to a more living wage?
So what I hear you saying is the most important thing to you is like, I cannot afford to keep doing this because one, the reimbursement cost is too low, and just period, like being able to live and do this work, to have some life and do this work.
Yes, because we only can take a certain amount of clients, because sometimes we're with those clients for 30 and 40 hours at a time. And then we have to think about backup and making sure our clients are cared for if we have to step away for whatever reason. And then if our only 2 clients birth at the same time, we have to pay a backup. So that's not living wages.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So because we're in this space, I'm definitely gonna ask, like, that's the big, so Leslie would say, I want to lead with like, y'all want this work, but y'all, in order to keep the human capital, you got to put some money on it.
We're making changes. Yes, ma'am. We're making change. Yes, I'm very passionate. It's keeping me up at night. I'm tossing and turning. I thank you so much for your wealth of knowledge, for everything you all are doing, and for putting in this work, for teaching me specifically. Thank you. And yeah, I've been tossing and turning, like, how are we going to live off of this? As all of our clients are wanting something for free now because it's insurance, but it's not free to us. It's our blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
So literally. Can I say something when it comes to that? So when you're advocating for a bill, or when you see partners advocating for a bill, it is essentially important that you're following the people who actually create policies and stuff like that, because when it came to Medicaid reimbursement, Virginia was number 2. Right? We had the patron carry the bill. We asked doulas to come out, and you know what happened? And why it's so low is because doulas did not show up. They didn't complete the surveys that we were trying to get. We were like, hey, we get paid more than this. And we were really pushing. Only a handful of people actually completed those surveys, which made it more detrimental to us, to where we had to lowball it first to get enough data so that we can go back and say, this is what we actually do. This is the difference. And then also educating them on the difference between a regular just birth doula, a difference between community-based doulas, and all the different doulas that come. So even when you're thinking about legislation just in general, you have to make sure that if that legislation truly matters to you, that you're following it all the way out and not just in and out. Because that was one of the barriers when it came to Virginia. Every other state behind us, we became the 4th because we wanted a study. And the reason why we agreed to a study was because we wanted to really get the number high up. But what happened was all the states after us got way more money than Virginia gets because they used our model, but all of their doulas filled out the survey information. And so we do plan to go back in 2025 to actually get this stuff corrected and fixed. But at the same time that we did doulas, we upped the limit for midwives and OBs to get paid too, because you have to remember that they're really the medical professionals. And so we have to make it make sense. So we're advocating for not only them, but also the doula bill. And so it takes a lot to really get a lot of the legislation done that people don't really see. My policy director and me, like this GA session, I was overwhelmed because I had to be there so much just to make sure that our voices are heard. So, and that's why I kept on saying, like, hey, when it comes to that, go to our advocacy page, because we list all the details about every single bill, especially if it's on our policy agenda, that, hey, this is where we need you to go. And we post it on social media. We say, hey, we need you to show up here. Our partners, like American College of Nurse and Midwives, we make sure that we're posting their stuff too, so that they can get presence, so we can have the stories and all of the things. So I would ask you to look at it in that light as well, because there's the whole different key factors that go into this work. And honestly, I wasn't the policy person. I learned policy in 2018. And I started to teach myself what to do and how to do it, to where now I can be well-versed. I'm not the best, I'm not the expert, but I'm a really good expert at the same time. So you just have to really go with the flow and learn as you go along, but also keep in mind, there's a lot of different facets that go into this work, which is why legislators have to they really be overwhelmed, and we really assist them in so many ways by creating fact sheets, talking points, all the things, because it's a lot of work.
Yes, ma'am. I thank you so much for your work. And I messaged you a while back before it went in. I never heard back from you. But I do want to follow. I don't scroll past. I do pay attention. And that's how I'm here today. And so thank you for bringing this. And everything that you said is exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before I go to Renaya, I'd want to put an explanation point on what Ms. Kinda said, okay? Is when we look at the ABCs of governance, right? At least this is Jackie Bro, the ABCs of governance. A is accountability, right? Like that's accountability for self and accountability of politicians. It's like I also have to take some personal accountability for the things that matter to me and making sure that I'm come from a place where I am connecting with people, but also like getting at the people's necks that need to that I feel like need to be showing up for me. Am I muted? Am I
No, I can hear you.
I'm just making sure. And then second, after accountability, it is a boldness, be boldness, right? Like there are some very bold steps that have to be taken in order to take that next steps. So in order for us to ask for to Kenda's point, I like feel like sometimes, man, I just wish I had more people that showed up because we would have been able to do this or being able to do that. So each of us have to have that boldness of like stepping out in a very real way so that we can do C coalition build, right? When we plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize, that's Killer Mike. That's not me. He the one who said that. We're able to make bigger and better change. So doing the ABCs allows us to do ABCD, go above and beyond the call of duty, right? Like that's what makes the change. To encourage everyone to like, if there's a specific thing, and Kenda, you mentioned it earlier by saying, did you hear what happened in New York? Maybe you're not on social media. Maybe that's not your thing. How I learned how to get more brilliant or smarter, become a better expert on the thing that matters to me is I set a Google alert, right? Like I was fussing with my kids' school and I set a Google alert for anytime something came out that said Norfolk Public Schools, I was getting a little alert to know that it was going on. Anytime something came out about childcare, I was getting a little alert and that's how I learned about all the work that Boston was doing. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna bring that to Norfolk. So like Google alerts, number one. Number two, making sure that you connect yourself to organizations that are doing the work. Number three, and lastly, something I was taught from an organization called Vote Run Lead when I was like thinking about running was I set aside a small investment for myself. I set aside $50 and I said, I'm going to try to have 30 cups of coffee in 90 days. Right? Like I don't drink coffee. So I said coffee, tea, or a Slurpee. And I reached out to people and I was like, I'm just to make a connection with them on the thing that mattered to me. And then ask them, is there anybody else you think I should be talking to? It's how I got connected with my first city council member and ended up doing some educational pieces there. But 30 cups of coffee, 90 days, and it built my network and also my sphere of influence in a way. You gain social capital and social responsibility when you're making those connections too. So those are three things I would recommend. A Google alert for the thing that matters, finding the people that are doing, also looking at the people that oppose it. Like, what are they even saying? Like the people on the other side of things so that I can have my arguments because I think conflict is beautiful, right? Conflict can bring some beautiful things. And then lastly, being intentional about making the connections right in your own backyard, because each of you could probably galvanize God knows how many people right in your space and place, and then walk them to Birth and Color, and then walk them to the General Assembly, whether it's in person or virtually. And that could be a beautiful thing. I'm going to go ahead and Renaya give you the floor because it looks like you had your hand up for a little bit.
No worries at all. Very insightful information that was shared. So I thank you guys for that. What I would include for the legislation that I would propose or highlight is the mortality and morbidity that Black women face. And I feel like that's what I would lead with. I would stress the racial bias that doctors have towards Black women and emphasizing competent and cultural care within the medical system to where doula support is further requested and needed due to these gaps that we are facing when it comes to women that want to birth in the hospital. You're muted, by the way.
Yeah, we're not. I'm just going to say, do you understand to which the clarity of you said that? Like, that is, she buried the lead, right? Now, the next piece of that, Renaya, would be is, okay, so how, right? Here's my objective, right? Here's what it looks like for you to do it. And I wanted you all to say that just so I could hear, and that is perfect. Like, I totally understand what it is that you are fighting for, why it's important to you. And then we want to get to the how. I need you to do X, Y, and Z. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And there's a lot, like you said, a lot of information. Did you just graduate?
Um, I graduated last, funny enough, it was just a year has just passed with my master's degree in social work.
Come on. Can we clap it up for her? Can we clap it up for her? I'm dead serious, y'all, because it ain't enough social workers around here. We just passed a social work compact so that social workers can go from state to state. We just joined this past, like, the work that you do is so important in all of the things. So thank you for making that choice for all of us. For
Thank
all
you.
of
I appreciate it.
So that part of being able to have that ask, right? Like, she definitely knows exactly what it is that she wants, and then pairing it with, all right, now here's what I want you to do. This is what you got. That's how you prepare that conversation. And as we think about the work, I want y'all to really put that in the back of your mind. I'm going to have this conversation. I know I'm passionate about this. Like, I'm not playing. This is important to me. And here's what you want people to do with that information. The worst thing you can do is go in there and spit a whole bunch of stuff and then not have nothing to hold people accountable for. Does that make sense? Like, you didn't ask them for nothing. You just told them stuff that they might already knew, but that's okay. So what you want, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what I'm looking to do, what I want to work with you on, and then I'm going to follow back up, which is the key, which is why Kenda just said, I spent so much time at the General Assembly, because it's a whole lot of following up. Because things change. She may have come into the office on Monday and they were like, yeah. And then somebody changed some stuff and now she back up there like, listen. So many of us need to be doing that so that we don't have the burnout in advocating for ourselves. Does that make sense? Oh, which is oddly enough, y'all gonna see, oddly enough, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Oddly enough, my next slide, if I can bring it up. My next slide is follow up. It's the follow up, right? It is going back and saying, we had this conversation 2 months ago or last week. I'm also going to talk about the grace piece and things with people that are leaving movements. I also need it. I've had people where it was like, I dropped the ball. I told this person that I would connect with them 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't made that connection yet. The way I'd like to do it with people is say, hey, can we consider following up in a month? Or can we put us on that timeline so that we both know when it's probably been the most appropriate amount of time for that disconnect? Because sometimes I know that I'm not going to get an answer on something, or I'm not even going to be working on legislation until June. I've told people, appreciate the conversation, love it. Let's revisit this in June when my head is in that game. So always with the follow-up before you leave that conversation, say, when's the best time to connect back with you? I know you got a busy schedule. I've got one too. I just want to put it on my calendar to reach back out to you at the appropriate time if I haven't heard from you, right? Because we're trying to grant grace, because we're all trying to do good work, hopefully. And step 8 is like, you do it all over again. Kenda mentioned something very important, y'all. That was the last step, but mentioned something very important. I will assure you is that I did not do politics before this. I didn't even want to run for this seat because it had to do with party politics. I was like, I don't even do that stuff. That's not my gig. I don't want to be a part of that. It's not. But what I realized, y'all, is that our entire lives are legislated. If you put on a seatbelt when you went to drive, where you went to work or whatever this morning, that's a piece of legislation. Our kids are not being worked to death because of child labor laws. If somebody work you overtime and they don't pay you for that overtime and you like about to call them out and have a case on them, that's legislation. Our lives are legislated, which are led by policy. So if you don't like politics, you better for damn sure like policy. Find that piece of policy that matters to you and put yourself in the position to create progress. You do not have to like politics, because sometimes I don't care what I don't care what your politics is. This is how we work and operate for people. So you can keep all of that D and that R wherever you want to keep it, but we all know that this is the right thing to do. And that's where I feel like I come from in most cases. Are there differences? in that politics side, yeah. Is there politicking that has to be done? Yeah, let me do that. I bit the bullet. I decided to be here. I know I got to be politicking. Kenda got to politics sometime because she know, like we know, but we need you doing this piece. This lobbying piece is that backup, right? If I'm the police, I need you to be the FBI. Okay, I need you to be that other organization that's about to come back in and like, see, you didn't even know they was coming, but when they show up, you know it's a problem. So I just need you all to understand how important you are, how vital you are to this process. There's no small work that you're going to do, even from that email that or that phone call that you're going to make before Memorial Day weekend. That is a huge step. And when you show up, it's not just for you. To Leslie's point, she's like, look, I'm talking about us. We cannot survive doing this. Like, you are one showing up for Mitty. And I need you to give yourself credit for being here today. Like,
Thank you.
credit. That is a big deal for taking, and on the middle of a day on Thursday, use your privilege of time to show up here just to take a step on how to take another step. That is a win. That is a win for you. That is a win for the things that matter to you. And we're going to keep, again, celebrating the small wins because we about to do big stuff. See,
that means a lot. Thank
it means a lot to me. That's when I say my time is not more precious than yours at all. I don't care what title we hear.
You're beautiful. You're so beautiful. Thank you.
You get to choose. So, Kenda, it looked like you was going to say something. I saw that talking hand come up.
No, I was just gonna say thank you so much because this was really, really good. And the reason why we asked Delegate Glass to like, hey, can you do this legislative 101? It's simply because we know that she knows how to deliver the information in a correct way where that's relatable to everybody, no matter of like whether you were the dopest lobbyist or whether you're new to this, because a lot of the processes are new and every year it gets a little bit different, even for me to be able to navigate it. And so thank you so much, Delegate Glass, for even taking the time out, for even developing these different courses. And so I can't wait to like reach out to you and say, hey, like when is the next one? Because we will be doing this and we will partner with you to make sure that people are showing up just to get educated. We do know that, you know, this upcoming year is an election year, y'all. And it's a lot of politics going on even with that. And so we have a choice, a right to the community to show up and say like, here's voter education. Here's how this stuff really works here, because everyone thinks that, hey, these local elections don't matter. But in fact, they are one of the most important elections ever. Most people think that the governor makes these decisions. And as you heard Delegate Glass say, hey, you know, he can't even introduce a bill. He has to have someone else introduce it. But who are his people that will introduce his bills is what you really have to think about when it comes to like, how do these dynamics really truly work? And how is it beneficial to our people? And so I would just say, you know, thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask them before we close out.
Yep, Sequoia's got it in the bookmark, follow. She's like, follow. Yes, please. I'll tell you, I use Birth and Color as a resource. I follow what they do. I'm like trying to like figure out like this space is for all of us and it needs all of us to show up. Summer school, Chiago, I believe I'm saying to on the line, my team on the line, I believe we had it set for July 27th. It's either 26th or 27th. I'm doing it in person, and he's gonna beat me up because I said don't commit to nothing else. We can see about virtual. I don't have it virtual. I usually do it in person and virtual because I did have people in other parts of the Commonwealth. They're like, I want to do it, but I think it's also better served organizationally when people asked us to do it because it helps. You all are like-minded in the room together, and so we can really hone in on what matters to you, and you can riff off each other. With that being said, the way that I built the summer school is that if you wanted to take it to your civic group, to your church, to whoever you wanted to, because it's not about the politics, it's about it's about just getting people informed on the process. I can send you the slides, right? Like and walk through. If you wanted to do a, hey, Delegate Glass, give me them slides. I know I can make it my own and teach it. Perfect. Like, we'll give it to you. It's not just for me to do. It is back to what I think Kendra was saying, is like, we all have to be participatory in order to make the difference, because I can't be in every space and every place. But you got people that you're going to touch that I probably never will be able to interact with, that we can bring into the light of the work that we're trying to do. So just, Chiago, can you put the office details in the chat for me? And if you're looking to get a hold of the slides, then they're yours. Like, they're yours to use. It's 3 courses. So legislation, it's the 101, the process, it's how to build a bill, and then lobbying. And thank you, Kenda. I really do appreciate, like, this is the best part of like what we get to do. Don't nobody give a damn. It's the best. It's the best part, y'all. I mean it. Like, I love a good fight. I love some good conflict, and conflict can be good. It can be real good, right?
Especially when you know what you're talking about, and when you just feel like, oh, I just won.
Yes, but please make sure that it's in this space of advocacy. I cannot say this enough. Please make sure that you celebrate your small wins. This is a win. Today you got to win. And I don't know what you're going to do. You're going to do that Google alert. You're going to go make that phone call, do the thing. Like, it's a win. You winning. And the most scary thing that I think people try, I think I was listening to I can't remember her name, that just that did the Me Too thing. She was saying that we are winning, because when people get louder and louder and louder, it's because they're trying to drown us off. But what typically happens with women and mothers in the work is that we keep at it. And when we start convening, it's like an oh snap, like, like counter and counter and counter. So like, even our presence in this space together is dangerous for somebody. Yeah. Okay.
This is the most amazing thing I've done all year. Thank you.
Oh, good. Shout out to Work in Color.
Thank you. That's what we love to hear. We love to make sure we're doing stuff that, the community want, and not just us, It's always beneficial to make sure that we're listening to the needs and wants of our community.
For sure.
Well, I will give y'all the rest of your Thursday back. Thank you so much again, Delegate Glass, and thank you all for wanting to show up, and for showing up in the space, for asking great questions, and for just wanting to know more about advocacy and legislation.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Delegate Glass. Thank you, Kenda, excuse me, Elle. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. Be well, y'all.
Peace. Bye.
And gratitude to you both. You all have a great day.
Gratitude, Rakita. See you. Keep at it, Renaya. We appreciate you so much. See y'all.
Bye.